Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Jitterbit Tech Talk. Of course, we're continuing on with our series here. My name, if you don't know me already, my name is Corey Willis, and I head up training here at Jitterbit for the product. And with me today, I have Micah Johnson. Micah Johnson works on my team. He's a training systems administrator, which really doesn't say enough. You look at that title and you think, well, he just runs the systems behind the scenes. But Mike, you've been with us many years. You have designed many Jitterbit projects, cleaned up a lot of my messes along the way.
We're improving integrations.
Yeah, we're continually improving. That's the way it works. But we're here today to talk to you about some more tech with Jitterbit. That's why we call them Tech Talks. On Tech Talks, we talk tech.
We talk tech.
I know it's cheesy, but it's what it is. So before we get into today's topic, which I'm really excited about, we've got some special guests coming on later with us. But before we do that, we always like to give a little bit update because, as you guys know, we run Jitterbit University here at Jitterbit. So we always like to give you an update from the training team and kind of what we've got coming out. And we've got some exciting things coming out. If you guys have been through the Foundations course, we've basically got a revamp of Foundations coming out. It's right around the corner. I mean, we're talking days to maybe, within the next week or two at the most. And this is the introduction to Design Studio.
Correct. So it's a really condensed down version of our Foundations. It really hyper focuses on the platform and the product. We have a lot of people that still really love the Design Studio. It's still very heavily utilized. So we want to make sure that we train everyone, make sure that they're confident with that tool because it really is a very powerful tool still.
Yeah. Now, of course, we've got the introduction to Cloud Studio out there as well. So a lot of courses out there. Those are continuing to increase. We're developing more every day. We're continuing to work to create more and more training content for you so you can become more and more comfortable with the platform. So be looking for that. But with that, let's go ahead and start kind of diving into today's topic. I mean, today we're just kind of diving right in. A lot of times we got a lot more to talk about beforehand. But today we're just diving straight in. And we're talking about a topic that we call templates.
Right.
And this is a relatively new concept, I know, to a lot of our customers. So we're just kind of introducing this to you. But I put Micah on a nice task here to go through and get all of this ready to show you guys. But let me just talk a little bit about what templates are before we dive in.
Okay. That's fine.
So templates, imagine if you had a particular integration need. Okay, you've got a particular use case that you need built. But imagine if there was something out there that did 75, 80, 90% of that work for you. And you could just bring that in, put in your credentials, change any little custom mappings, custom fields that you needed, and you're pretty much ready to go. That is the vision of templates. A couple sets that are out there that have made it all the way through QA. We do QA these things. We've got a few sets that have made it out there already. We've got several more in progress. We're going to talk to you more about the specifics of those. But what we want to do today is really just kind of introduce you to the concept and let you get a look at some of them and what we've got and where this takes you to. Okay. Yeah. But again, these are basically just Jitterbit projects.
They are.
They go a little bit farther than that, though, don't they?
Yeah. And before we actually jump to that screen and dive in, I'd kind of like to show a little bit of where these fit in the big picture as far as where templates fit in a typical Jitterbit lifecycle.
Awesome. Go ahead.
All right. Well, with Jitterbit, most people on this Tech Talk are probably Jitterbit customers. They're familiar with the platform as a whole. And I like to think about the Jitterbit platform really as this massive, like a workshop. And we've got all these different tools, all these different things, and you can really use them for anything that you need. And the real limitation is your own creativity, because if you've got a pain, chances are this tool can connect to it, adjust it, move it, and really help add value to those business processes. So the Jitterbit platform as a whole has tons of functionality, but you've got to get in there and you've got to do the work.
Yeah.
But because, as a part of the platform, we've got all these awesome connectors that we've pre-built, and more are coming out with Cloud Studio all the time. And we've got connectors for Salesforce, Oracle, Slack connectors. There's tons of them. New logos are coming into the platform all the time. Then beyond that, we've got the connector builder and connector SDK, so you can build your own custom connectors. So you're not just, going through REST APIs, going through backend stuff. You're building connectors that you can reuse, share with your team, document out yourself, to really help make that easier. So that's kind of the platform as a whole. Well, a while back, we took it a step further. We created Citizen Integrator, where we were able to deploy recipes that people could put in their credentials. And it was just quick little integrations that it was typically one object to one object, one direction. And it was really simple, really easy to set up.
Yeah, super simple, little point to point.
And they were customizable, but it was a little different. That wasn't the focus. There was this slick little interface. You put it in and it goes. If you wanted to make changes, you really had to get on the back end and look at that. I would say that templates are even a step beyond that. This is a full process workflow where it shields the customer from a lot of the complexity, but the complexity is there. You mentioned earlier that you said, 50 to 80% of the work is already done. Everybody has customizations, custom fields, things they need, but most of the heavy lifting, the error handling, all that stuff is already put in here by Jitterbit experts. It's been QA'd, it's been set up, tested, hammered on, and it's pretty much ready to roll.
Yeah.
And so
let me piggyback on a few of those topics real quick. You mentioned about like our connectors, and let me just say, in the Jitterbit world, connectors and templates, they are completely different things.
They are.
Connectors take care of the technical ability to connect to that system, like the authentication and how do we actually pull back the data schemas and things like this. The template is not just a connector to a system, but it's using the connector to one system, a connector to another system, and all the process workflows in between.
Yes.
So it's a lot more. And I know sometimes in the industry, guys, the terminology gets a little confusing. I know you go from vendor to vendor, and this vendor it's called this, and this vendor it's called that. So that's why we always like to kind of talk through this. Excuse me. But yeah, so connector and template completely different. There was another topic I was going to address there that for the life of me I cannot think of at the moment. It's one of the great things about a live broadcast, right? But yeah, let me toss it back to you. I'll probably think about it here in just a minute.
Yeah, and so when we're deploying these templates, really in our documentation, we kind of break it out into 4 parts, super simple steps. A lot of the heavy lifting is done for you. So when you're ready to implement a template, really what you're going to do is we've got a little prepackaged thing where I believe it's called Workbench that we use to create the custom fields. The one I'm going to demo
this one we're talking is Salesforce in particular. So we use the Salesforce Workbench tool. That's a Salesforce tool.
I believe so.
And so we leverage that. And that customizes that system to work with this integration. Okay.
And so you're adding your custom field, setting the right permissions. Then you're importing the template into Jitterbit Cloud Studio. You're populating your value, so your username, your password for your different systems, and then you're just going to test the endpoints. And once you have those 4 things in place, you're really ready to start running those integrations.
Okay. Now I did remember what I was wanting to mention, the customization. Like I've seen some vendors out there that's like, hey, you can buy this integration, and then you go to them and go, oh, well, I need to add these 5 custom fields. Oh, well, hold on, let me get my price sheet out and see what it's going to cost you to do these additional customizations. That's not how it works in Jitterbit.
Right.
Everything. You've got access to the entire integration behind the scenes. You can change anything you want to change.
Yeah. And I would say lots of our customers do self-implement these templates. We do have professional services hours that you can tack onto these for the implementation and for customizations. But I believe for templates, those are fixed rates for a defined scope of work. And so we can, based on the template, we can work with you on that pricing. But once again, you're going to talk to your customer success manager, your partner success manager for the exact details. But I know they are planning stuff for
you. Well, and what I'm hearing there is there's flexibility. If you want to do it 100% on your own, you can do that. If you want us to do it for you and save the PS hours because we went through and already did this, hey, that works too. So we're flexible on it all. But
even if you're using PS, because you're using the template, your design time and your debugging time are going to be drastically reduced. So just think of the savings there, even if you are planning on using PS.
Yeah. And we're going to dive in just a moment and take a look at this. But there's one other topic that I want us to talk about. Hopefully I'm not jumping ahead too far here.
Go ahead.
But Now, Micah, you have, like I said before, you've worked with us for years.
Mhm.
You have built integration projects from scratch
Yes.
to systems that we were told we couldn't integrate with, and we found the way to do it.
Yeah.
You have implemented templates.
Mhm.
You've done some of this. So Mike is probably a little bit ahead of the curve from some of you that may not have used templates just yet, okay? But with that being said, how long did it take you? Now, today we're going to be looking at one between Salesforce and NetSuite, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily matter the endpoint. This is just the one we chose to demonstrate with.
Mhm.
But it's between Salesforce and NetSuite, and we're just doing kind of two objects, right?
Right.
Kind of accounts and contacts type of synchronization.
Right.
Now, with that, and that's a relatively simple integration, but
Yeah.
to do the integration to the level that we're going to show in this template,
Mhm.
now that involves bi-directional synchronization,
Mhm.
that involves following best practices,
Mhm.
that involves,
Which we always do.
and we encourage you to always follow the best practices.
Yes.
But so it follows the best practices. It includes error handling, notifications, all that stuff's built into this. So for you to deploy the template and get that to a functional state, now we're not talking the actual execution of the operations. We're just talking getting it out there, deploying it, having it ready to go. How long did that take you? Now, again, this is with your experience, but about how long did that take you to implement this template?
Right. Yeah. Like you're saying, I have a good bit of experience with both of these systems and with Jitterbit. I would say it took me about a half an hour to configure my Salesforce org, get everything imported into Jitterbit, get all my variables set, test my connections. I'd say between a half hour and an hour, I had this thing up and running.
Okay. Now, again, caveats, lots of experience, and we didn't do any additional customizations.
Right.
We just deployed it just as is. Okay. So if you're working with professional services, there's going to be some customizations that come into play at times. But still, we're talking a very minimal amount of time. Now, if you didn't have the experience that you have, if you just had the documentation that we provide with the templates, you had the template, and say you had, you've been through the Jitterbit University courses, you've tinkered in there a little bit, you kind of understand the platform, about how long would you estimate, and this is a gut estimation, okay? But about how long would you estimate that might take you?
If I had never worked with any templates or anything, I think within a few hours, maybe a half a day, maybe a day, just because there is a small learning curve. But once you it's documented so well, you're really just following it step by step. And so it's not a complex thing. It's just something new.
Gotcha. Now, the third step of this, if you didn't have the template, and even with your experience, even with the education, the experience that you've got on the platform, if you were to go and build this integration to the same level of error handling, the same level of notifications, if you were to build that from scratch, what would you expect to spend on something?
If you gave me this as a task for our team, I would fully expect to spend several weeks, maybe even a month, trying to get it to this level. Now, I could push the data very quickly, and I could get it back. But to really follow best practices, get it right, fully QA it between multiple environments, all that kind of stuff, and maybe even have another team look at it. If I'm trying to coordinate all of those efforts, we're talking weeks, possibly months, to get something this robust and this repeatable out the door.
Okay, so the point of this is just to show you on this path that we're heading and releasing these templates, it's all about saving you time. Now, that being said, we may not have a template today for what you are facing, but we're heading that direction. We're going to be releasing more and more and more of these as time progresses. And so eventually you may see some. You may see some today. I'll go ahead. I know we say we save Q&A for the end, but we did have a question come up of, are these for Cloud Studio only, or are these for Design Studio, or the desktop version, as some people refer to it as? The templates that we have out today are designed around Cloud Studio. And the reasoning for that is that's where all the new connectors are being built, okay? That being said, there are ways that you could deploy something in Cloud Studio and still have things going in Design Studio simultaneously, okay? So it doesn't mean that you have to change your entire organization and every project that you already have to Cloud Studio to be able to leverage these.
Right.
well, we've talked a good bit, and I know it's tech talk, but we also like to show. So how about we dive in and just kind of take a look at some things?
Yeah,
Are you ready for that?
I am.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
So if we'll get my screen pulled up here, I've got the Cloud Studio interface on screen, and this is the template that I said it took me about a half hour to an hour to get it in place. And what I did was I came over here to my Salesforce org. I added all of my custom fields, and you have to adjust a few permissions and stuff. But it added these little external IDs.
And all that information is in the documentation.
It is, every bit of it. All right. And then I came in here and I imported, it was just, we don't call them Jitterpacks in Cloud Studio, but they're just little exported versions of the project. Imported that as a JSON file. And then I came in here and I adjusted my project variables. And so this is all just kind of dummy data in here. And so really it's copying and pasting from my own systems. I put username, password, security token, coming in here, putting in all of my NetSuite information. I actually had a little hiccup in that, so it took a little longer than it normally would have, and I still came in blazing fast on this thing. But once you get all of those values populated, you can come into your individual endpoints, Salesforce, for example, and this is all variabilized, so I'm not having to come into each one of these. You can see that all that's populating from my variables. When I go to test it, connection is successful.
Awesome.
So
now you mentioned the little hiccup, and this was interesting because I know we chatted through it, and it really didn't even have anything to do with Jitterbit.
It was not a Jitterbit.
It was actually a NetSuite issue where our NetSuite instance got moved, and so the URL changed and some things like that. But even overcoming that, you know. Well, awesome. Were there anything else in there that you wanted to show us today?
Yeah. So each one of these templates, they're, like I said, they're all very different, but they have a series of scripts that are going to kick these off, and they're actually going to go through each time, and they're going to set different variables that are going to capture our logs. They're going to do all kind of stuff. And in this one, we're pulling our contacts out of Salesforce, and then we're pushing those into our NetSuite contacts. It's really simple. But this is just one workflow that's a part of this template. And you see over here, we can open up number 2. We're going to go back the other direction because this is fully bi-directional. Another thing that this is doing automatically is it's caching the value of the last time that we ran it. So when we want to come back through and rerun this, we're not running all of our data. We're saving the, all that heavy lifting on our system, and we're just getting what's happened since the last time we ran it. That's pretty basic stuff. It's a best practice, but it's something that when we're just trying to build a quick integration, we're probably not going to do version 1. But with these templates, everything out of the box.
When you get somebody that comes to you and says, "Hey, I need this integration, and I need it yesterday," I mean, let's be honest. We tend to go, "Okay, well, I'll fudge a little bit on some of these things so I can get something operational, and I'll make it better in version 2."
And version 2 never comes.
That's our saying around here, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, this allows you to follow all that. Allows you to get it out there, get it out the door, get it functioning. And the fact of the matter is you guys know this, but when you have an integration need and you can get that integration up and running and out the door, the cost benefits on that are just exponential. I mean, you need the integration. You need your data where it sits. You need to see your data where you need to see it, whether it sits there or not. And being able to get that integration going, you can get on to more productive things. Okay. Let's see here. I know, and apologies, everybody. I get that we're having a few little quality issues on the video feed today for some reason. We haven't had this before on this platform. But at the same time, we're in a whole new world out there with people leveraging technology. We will definitely try to look into it and make it better next time around, if at all possible. That's why we switched this. I know many of you've been on with us before when we were on the Zoom platform, and we switched over here, really to get a better quality. And unfortunately, we're not really getting that today. I'm seeing that on screen over here, but I do hear you, and we do recognize that we're going to try to get that. But let's see. So is that pretty much what you were wanting to show us there?
That's the bulk of it. I wanted to leave plenty of time for Q&A because I'm sure there's some good stuff that's going to come down the pipe.
Okay. Well, speaking of Q&A and leading into it, I want to introduce to you our guests. that we have on with us today. And so on the phone here with us, we don't have the video feed, which actually is going to play better to our quality issues, I think. But we have Sam and Shardul from our solutions team who has been tirelessly working on getting these templates up and running. And let's see, Sam, I think I see you unmuted there. Do we have you, Sam?
Hi, Corey. Yes, you do.
Awesome. We've got Sam on the line with us, and I know you've got Shardul with you here as well. But Sam, I just wanted to bring you on, introduce you to everybody, let them know who is really one of the masterminds behind this initiative here at Jitterbit, and really kind of let you fill in some of the blanks that Mike and I may have missed as we've gone through this. So I'll just go ahead and let you kind of introduce yourself, give a little bit here, and then if you want to bring Shardul on, you can, and we'll move into Q&A here in just a little bit.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Corey. My name is Sam Zita. I actually help run the solutions engineering for Jitterbit. And Shardul is director of solutions engineering as well. So I have a team underneath here that is obviously subject matter expert in a variety of different endpoints, right? Which also allows us to bring a lot of the subject matter expertise in the implementation and the development of those templates, right? Something that I think Mike had talked about quickly, if you are looking at a template, oftentimes here you have supporting artifacts that would need to be built on both platforms, right? In this case, he talked quickly about the fact that Salesforce, you would have custom fields, right, that would need to be created and custom objects. And if you're looking at an ERP, the likes of, SAP or Epicor, in the same fashion, you have best practices that have been implemented, right? You might be leveraging a BAQ versus, going directly against the API, and there are very good reasons to do that. So what we've also done is to make sure that all the supporting artifacts are packaged together so that when you're ready to go ahead and leverage your template, there's very little manual intervention that would need to happen. Yes, your administrator might actually need to run a package, but that package would create all the underlying artifacts that are needed to support the integration, right? As complex as it might be, all of that would actually be, the creation of those artifacts would actually be automated. And we do that for all of the different endpoints involved in the template creation.
Awesome. Well, speaking of endpoints, Sam, what endpoints do we have templates out for now, and what are some of the endpoints that you guys are working on to get out the door?
Yeah, so we do have a number. The ones that are out there, obviously, we have Salesforce, NetSuite, Epicor, Magento as well. And the ones that are up and coming that are pre-release, they've already been developed. They're just in a pre-release. You have Shopify, SAP, what else? One second here. Shopify, SAP, additional Magento templates also are being developed. And obviously we are also expanded the set of use cases that you have for the likes of NetSuite, right? We're also looking at, ServiceNow, BMC, big ITSMs out there as well. Workday, we have a number of templates that are actually released already for Workday as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Well, guys, we've got plenty of time here for Q&A. We always like to leave the time. If we don't use it, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But we want to always give our audience the ability to ask our experts with us remotely here any questions that you may have. It could be directly related to templates. And to be honest, guys, we always open this up and say, really, if you have any Jitterbit questions, we will do our best to answer them. We may not always be able to, but we've been around for a while, so we've got a good bit of knowledge of the company here. But if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. If we can't get to them on the call, then we'll definitely follow up afterwards. So feel free to send those over. But while you're doing that, Sam, I'm going to ask you just a few more questions here. Now, I know you were telling me earlier about some of the input from our own internal teams that have been implementing templates and some of the time savings that they're seeing. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So obviously I wanted to sort of field test the templates. As a general rule, a lot of the input that we get when building templates originally come from the professional services team as well. Some of our partners that are subject matter expert and also some of the folks in the fields. So once we implemented the templates, we wanted to go back and ensure that the goal behind the building of those templates was actually reached, right? The whole idea here is to be able to sort of provide greater value faster, right, to those that are in implementation. And there's no better way to do that than asking the guys in PS to go back and sort of test it on a real live scenario, right? And they have done that a few times already. And in essence, here, the feedback that they're giving us is that it has taken them 70 to 80% less time than it would have otherwise if they were not leveraging a template. So it does work. There is a portion here that has to be customized. Like I said, everybody would love to be running, let's say Salesforce vanilla, but the reality is that you all know that it's sort of tweaked here and there, right? So
here and there and everywhere.
And everywhere. But the main thrust and the main use cases here are readily available, right? And those can actually be up and running very quickly. And for the modification, it takes them about 10 to 20% of the time.
Okay. Now, here's actually a question that I was going to ask you, and it's already come through: is where can we find the templates? Are these out on Success Central yet? Et cetera, et cetera. And I'll say a little bit, and then Sam, I'll have you kind of comment as well. But I don't believe that these are on Success Central yet. So right now, it would be contact your customer success manager and have that discussion with them. But Sam, anything that you'd like to add about kind of where we are today and where we're headed with that?
So they will be out on Success Central. So they're going through the funnel. There are a number of those that I said that are released. They are going to be GA, and as soon as they are GA, they will be available on Success Centrals. And all the ones that are currently pre-released will follow the same path. So I would anticipate that you will have a lot of the templates available on Success Central shortly. I would say probably within 3 to 4 weeks.
Awesome. And so, guys, that's one of the advantages. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, I said, meanwhile, should you need access to those, just reach out to your CSM and they will make them available.
Yeah. And guys, that's one of the great things about Tech Talks is that we get to share some things with you, sometimes a little bit early and let you know what's coming down the pipe and kind of what's available almost behind the scenes temporarily. But yes, they're coming out there. So a couple others here. Let's see. Do we have any templates for bi-directional data for Salesforce and Jira? Sam, I know you've done some stuff with Jira. Do we have anything coming out on templates with that?
Actually, yes, we do. And
awesome.
One of the main reasons that we do actually is because internally we actually leverage both of those systems. So we were sort of the very first users, right, of those templates. So yes, we do.
Okay. So there's your answer there. Here's another one. And maybe looking for some clarification on this question. But are your Salesforce templates connected to SQL Server for appointment updates, possibly based on last date modified for real time or near real time? I'm going to ask for a little clarification, and I'm assuming that you're sitting here, you're asking, is there a template for Salesforce to SQL Server? But feel free to ask some clarification or send some clarification over on that question, and we'll come back to it. But here's another one. Do we have any templates yet for Azure DevOps?
Not as of now, no. But I know for a fact that the folks in product management have been sort of tossing the idea. But if you guys have specific use cases in mind that you would like to see implemented, I would certainly recommend that you please share those with, whether it be with Corey and team, or through Success Central. I think we have a mechanism where you can actually submit suggestions. By all means, please do forward those, and we will certainly take a look at those.
Perfect. And so while we're at this particular juncture in our discussion, let's go ahead and kind of bring up the next steps here, Jared. So one of the things that Sam was mentioning there is kind of where to submit your ideas. And we do have the ideas portal.
Yes.
And this is in community, right, Micah?
Yeah. So if you'll just go out to community.jitterbit.com, you'll actually have to log in to see the ideas portal. But you can submit any ideas that you have. Those are moderated on a regular basis. And if we hear the same endpoints, the same pain enough, that puts it on the fast track to get something developed.
And you can upvote other people's ideas.
Yes, you can.
So I always recommend, hey, on a whatever regular basis you can do, go check out the ideas portal, because you may see something that goes, hey, that's actually a great idea and I could use that. Let me upvote that.
I've submitted some good ideas. So if you see my name, just give me a little upvote. I would appreciate it.
If we submit them, whoever submits them, it's a great idea, right?
That's right.
So, but some other tools out there, of course, we've talked about Success Central already. That is the Jitterbit documentation site. You get all kinds of stuff out there. That's success.jitterbit.com. And of course, we opened up talking about university.jitterbit.com. So those are some great resources for you. And of course, we've mentioned it, but you can always reach out to your customer success manager or your alliances manager, and go through that channel. They love to chat with you and kind of hear what you are working through right now and how we could potentially help you more. So those are some great ways that you can kind of get back with us. So let's see here. We did get some of that follow up. And so Sam, I'll let you address this here. But it says SQL Server has new appointments that need to be loaded into Salesforce near real time. So Sam, do you think this would be a template scenario, or do you think there might be a better way to go about this one?
It probably could be a template scenario, but I'll let Shardul chime in here since he's sort of joined us as well. So.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Sam. So I think I'll go back to the first question that came first, was that the template for Salesforce, the managing of the deltas where you modify or maintain the last modified date timestamps, we actually do that in the cache. We use the read cache and the write cache functions to maintain the timestamps. So we do not use a SQL Server table for this. However, this appointment thing, like as Sam mentioned, so if this is a pressing issue, yeah, this could be a candidate for template.
Okay. So the best scenario here would probably reach out to your customer success manager, share some details, and we can kind of take it from that point and go forward and figure out if templates are the best approach, or if this is more of a custom scenario. But we can definitely look at that, and your customer success manager would probably be your best point of contact with something at that level. Here's another one. Will templates pull in plugins, or do we still need to assign them to the agent groups?
So the plugins, for example, the one that you are showcasing right now, Salesforce and NetSuite, there is no use of a plugin in that one. But let's say you are using a plugin which needs a HMAC plugin or something of that sort. That plugin is already available on Cloud Studio. Like, as you're aware, this is a Cloud Studio template. The templates are currently designed for Cloud Studio. So there are plugins that are already available on Cloud Studio.
Okay. And I'll follow up just a little bit with that, because you mentioned about assigning them to the agent groups. I would say the one exception, of course, even with these templates, you could deploy these into an environment that's running a private agent. And if you're doing that, if it were using a plugin, hypothetically speaking, I would imagine you would need to go in and assign that plugin to that agent group. But if we were using, and I'm kind of going out on a limb, so Sam, Shardul, correct me here if I'm wrong, but if we were doing a template that required a plugin, then that would be in the template documentation to say, hey, this is a step that you need to do, right?
That is correct. That is correct. We have seen some scenarios where a plugin is needed. If a plugin is needed, we make sure that you get that in the documentation. And if it's really the plugin is needed, we make sure that we get loaded into the Cloud Studio. It's released into the Cloud Studio.
Okay. And of course, again, if you want to run these private within your own private agent group, you can do that. You can run them in the cloud also with the ones that are cloud to cloud. If you were doing like SAP, I'm sure there's going to be some
Yeah.
specifics in that one,
Mhm.
that talk about what you need to do there. Another question has come in here. Where can we read more about templates? Specifically interested in Magento templates. Sam, where would be the best place for our audience member to go to find out more information on the Magento templates?
I think our documentation team is actually getting ready to release a lot of the documentation onto Success Central. So I'm going to point you back to Success Central. If you are looking um, specifically around Magento, I would recommend reaching out to the CSM, and they will put us in touch. And we're more than happy to provide you with all the documentation ahead of time before it gets on Success Central, so you can see exactly, we do have sort of a data sheet, so you can look at the data sheet and realize if whether the use cases that have been implemented on the templates actually are of relevance to your scenarios. So.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, it's going to be on Success Central in the very near term. But if it is something, and actually I would just go ahead and encourage it, if you're already at the point of saying you're interested, go ahead and reach out to your customer success manager and initiate that contact, and we'll kind of go from there. So yeah, just want to reiterate that. Anything else on questions? Feel free to send those over. I'm not seeing any more outstanding, but always want to give the opportunity while we've got everybody online here to go through and answer those. Of course, if you do have questions, customer success managers, if it's template related, if you've ever got any training questions, you can always reach me and my team, Micah, Jared, that you've seen on the Tech Talks before. You can reach us at training@jitterbit.com, and we'd be more than happy to answer the question if it's training related. If not, we'll put you in contact with the right person to answer those questions for you. Okay. So as we're wrapping up here, Micah, let me just ask you, you went through and deployed these templates here. For you, having been through everything you've been through with Jitterbit, having done the challenging projects before, what was, I know we're more technical, so we don't like getting into kind of the emotions of things, but how did you feel going through and seeing that much work was already done for you?
Well, I have to say it was really nice to be able to really stand on somebody else's shoulders, and somebody that has a lot more integration experience than I do, a lot more expertise on those various endpoints, and kind of lean on their knowledge. It was really nice. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when I go to do an integration and there's zero documentation, or it's documented and it's not correct. Anything like that really just rubs me. And so being able to walk through that step by step, everything I needed to do was laid out for me. Even though I could do some of this on my own, it was really nice to know exactly what was next in the process.
Mm-hmm. So, Sam, Shardul, shout out to you. You hear it from Micah here. Just it's nice to be able to have something that's solid. I know back in the day, I used to get integrations in, and I look at it and go, what does this even do? You can't even follow it. So to have something that's well documented, well put together, Sam, Shardul, shout out to you guys and your team for all that you've done getting these things ready to go. I don't see any other questions that have come in. Oh, here's one right now. Let's see. Being new to starting with a template, where is the first place to start editing it? That's a great question. Came in right at the last moment here. But Sam, what would be your take on that, or Shardul, either one of you, whichever one's kind of most appropriate? If you needed to make your customizations, where would you start?
Sure, I'll take that one. So what happens is once you have the access to the template from your CSM and you see that there are some customizations you need, could be in the mapping. So there are probably some custom fields that you have, some mapping needs to be modified. You would, again, because it's a Cloud Studio template, you would open up in Cloud Studio. And once you have the project opened up, you actually have the source code. You could go into the transformation, make changes to the transformation. You could even add an operation, if you like, in the workflow. So because we give you the source code, you are free to make changes to the template as you like. You could remove stuff, you could add stuff, you could make modifications to the existing mappings. So you have everything in your hand.
Awesome. So Mike has been kind of showing a little bit of that. Shardul, as you've been talking through it, and just where some of that would be. And I'll say, I would still always recommend follow the best practice of, hey, do this in a dev environment first, take it over to a QA. I mean, we've QA'd the templates, but you need to run some QA in your own environment before you move it to production. So leverage the environments that you have. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. If you do have any other questions, feel free to send them over. Send them to training@jitterbit.com, and we'll definitely follow up with you offline and try our absolute best to get you an answer to your questions. I want to thank Sam, Shardul. Thank you guys for joining with us. Micah, thanks for being on with me. Thanks for prepping this out to be able to show our audience. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll see some great value out of templates. With that, everybody, have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.